For drinks?" "Yeah," he growled, really wanting to hit something. But he decided he'd done enough damage in his father's office. Scratch that. His office. He watched his brother walk out, then moved over to finish cleaning up the glass before he made the phone calls he knew needed to be made. 2 hours later, Tyler locked up his office for the night and felt like bitching to someone about a massive headache he had, but instead kept his mouth shut as he walked out of the small trailer and headed toward his truck. He passed by Rhea, his father's faithful secretary for the past 20-some years. The woman was older than the hills, but could type faster than his eyes could track. He'd assumed that she'd guessed he'd been in a sour mood, since she'd avoided eye contact as he made his way out. The small trailer that housed his father's mobile office traveled all over the state, wherever the most lucrative jobs were. He'd rather be working out of the old brick building in town, which housed the larger official offices of McGowan Enterprises. But since he was required, as the new boss of the family business, to be on the site of the current leases, he was stuck in the small trailer for the next few months. That was until he could convince one of his brothers to take over for him. The company's current lease was on an old farm in the middle of nowhere. Sure, it was only 10 miles out of town, but when he stepped out of the trailer and glanced around, there wasn't another person or building in sight. No lights, no city noises, no women to come running when he smiled at them. Damn, he missed the city. He made his way toward his father's truck and cursed when the old thing didn't start up. Why the hell his old man hadn't replaced the damn thing years ago was beyond him. The memory surfaced fast and hard, almost like a quick punch to the gut. His father laughing as he leaned over the engine of the old Ford truck. "No, son, a carburetor doesn't yell at the rest of the car to go faster." He must have been 10, since he'd needed to stand on a 5-gallon bucket in order to see inside the engine block. "What does a carburetor do, then?" His father had chuckled again. "A carburetor controls the flow of gas that goes into the engine." His father had tapped the large metal piece in the engine. "This," he smiled up at him, "is what we'll be taking apart in the next few weeks." "Why? Why not get a new one?" he'd asked. "Because, son, sometimes the answer to a problem isn't throwing money at it. Sometimes you need to put in a little elbow grease in order to solve a problem." "Like you and Uncle Carl?" His father had sighed and wiped a cloth along his forehead. "Well, in the case of people problems, it takes both people to want to work the problems out." "Doesn't Uncle Carl want to be your brother anymore?" "Son, he'll always be my brother." "Like Trent, Trey, and me?" "Yeah." His dad grinned. "Carl just needs to want to work things out." "He'll come around though, right?" "I hope so." His father's eyes had been filled with sadness. "I sure do hope so." Tyler shook off the memory, and after he punched the gas a few times, the engine roared to life. He made his way back into town toward his parents' place. The old ranch house sat on the outskirts of town and, if you could believe it, was one of the nicer homes around Haven. He knew that his dad and Uncle Carl had designed and built the place themselves, back before Tyler had been born, before they had a falling out. He passed through town without stopping at his place. The first thing Tyler had done after returning to town was to rent the apartment above the Wet Spot, the local bar/strip club. Haven wasn't known for its churches, but they had some of the nicest tits in Montana. Ones he had frequently enjoyed. Up until now. After spending almost an hour on the phone with Newfield Production Company that afternoon, he'd convinced himself that it was high time to take a hiatus from drinking. He needed to focus for the next 3 months, which meant no more drinking himself to oblivion every night and no more women. Period. After he pulled up behind his mother's new sedan and jerked the truck into park, he sat there in silence as he looked at his childhood home. His father had been a stickler for keeping the place up. He'd even hired several of the oil crew to swing by once a week to tend to the yard work, since none of the 3 boys could ever muster up the strength to do the job themselves.